Hi, I'm Julie and welcome to the Velvet Bloom. In today's tutorial, we are going to be making a fairly large centerpiece. Now this centerpiece can be used for any kind of occasion, whether it be a wedding or an engagement, a birthday, whatever it might be. But in this particular one, we're gonna oversize it and it's inspired by color. If you can see that the blooms that I've chosen were very intentional. So I'm envisioning this to be, for a really vibrant kind of wedding, and a centerpiece on whether it be your focal table or wherever it be that you might want to place it. Let's get started. For the mechanics, I've chosen to use your floral foam. I know a lot of people will sort of don't know how they feel about floral foam, but if you choose not to go that option, you can use other mechanics, whether it be chicken wire, or you could actually make your own kind of mechanic. But for this, I want something really sturdy and really strong. So what I've chosen to do is actually I've placed one already in this. This is the container that I'm using. So I've placed one in already. It's obviously been it's been loaded up with water, so it's ready to go. Now, because I want this arrangement to sit quite high, I'm actually stacking them. You don't really see a lot of this in floral arrangements, but if you do, you've got to make sure that you're really going to cover that mechanic and none of this foam is going to be visible. So to keep this nice and sturdy, I've chosen to actually use some wire, which I'm going to just sort of feed through. And now that's going to keep this really tucked in. And if I was transporting this to an event, I would definitely make sure that this is extra secure. So in doing so, I would just place my floral tape. And that way, it just gives that little bit more security, especially in your transporting. The last thing you want to do is put your heart and soul in a beautiful piece and lose it on the way down. Okay, so with that being secured now, we can actually start with our piece. So I've actually got an array of different blooms. I've got some from roses to ranunculus. I've got some your white berries, ethereum, blushing bride, lots of different greeneries. I've got some mock orange green leaf. So it's pretty much wherever you want to go in terms of creativity, but this is what I've chosen. So with this piece, I'm going to actually think of a picture, a painting. When we're looking at a painting, our eye sort of starts from one point and it will follow through into, other movements and other areas of that painting. So the same sort of theory applies to this. So I'm going to have some highs, I'm going to have some lows. So it will have this kind of flow to it, and then it will have an overspill as well. And that's what gives dimension and texture to your arrangements. So in starting, I like to start with the foliage. For me, the foliage sort of helps, it helps to sort of like center everything. So obviously, because we're going to go quite high, I'm going to make sure that's placed in really tightly up top, because this is what's giving me the height now. So making sure your stems are nicely cut and prepped prior to any work that you do. Never have everything set out and your stems are not ready to go. Like that just slows you down. So everything I have here is well and truly prepped, but I'm just re-snipping as I go. Obviously, you want to cut down to your desired lengths as well. Now this one, So this one I'm going to start to place it on the angle, because again, I'm using my foliage now to sort of create the highs and low moments. And that's, yeah, that's pretty good actually. I probably need a couple more long ones. And wherever you don't want stuff, like when you're placing things, you can always come back in and snip away. So don't ever be scared to like put something in and go, oh, yeah, not quite happy with that. Snip. It's as easy as that. All right, moving on to the next foliage. It's going to get quite big and I'm quite little, so I hope you can see me. So these ones I want to create sort of with it just sort of flowing out. And this will also help to create that's overspill, whilst we always have to make sure that we're really covering our mechanics. But if you can see that there's this flow to it already. So we've got some drama and we've got some low moments, and that's what we want to start to see in this arrangement. I've got some really cool vine. And so this stuff's amazing because this is what really starts to throw that really whimsical feel. I might have to spin this around because this is quite delicate, this one actually, and it needs to be placed in once and once only because you don't want to keep poking into your flower foam. Yeah, too many holes are never a good thing, that's for sure. But that looks quite pretty as it is. I'll just move some of that out of the way just so we can really see. And we might actually come back to this and use some of that a bit later on. But now what we want to do is actually start to throw some of our flowers in. Now I'm using some lithianthins, and these, they're quite tall. They're quite tall. So I'm going to use all that to my advantage today and really show them off in this piece. I will cut some down, that's for sure. But for the moment, I'm definitely going to use the height to a lot of these ones because they're just quite beautiful, and they've got like 3 to 4 blooms on them, which is amazing. Hello. I might have to spin that around. Sorry guys, I'm going to have to keep spinning this on you just so I can see exactly what I'm doing from behind and from the front. And when you're working with arrangements like this, it's nice to see the blooms clustered. I like to group them in 2s, 3s, and 5s. You've got to try and mimic nature. When we're looking at flowers just in nature, you'll see that they are always grouped. They're never really sparse, one here, one there. Flowers don't grow like that. They grow in clusters. And so that's what makes our arrangements look more natural, as opposed to really placed. And so now I'm just trying to build up the bottoms a bit. And again, clustering those in like that. Definitely mimics nature. Gosh, I hope you can see me, guys. I'm shrinking. As this is growing, I'm shrinking. And always cutting your stems on a diagonal. It just allows them to drink much, much more when they're on an angle, as opposed to cutting them straight across, because you want your blooms to be able to draw and suck up as much water as they can. Obviously, water is their friend. Remember that. So always cutting your stems on an angle, just for that reason that we want them to drink. We want longevity out of what we create. We never want to see our creations die before their time. All right, I'm just inserting some mock orange. And this is beautiful because the mock orange actually has some really pretty tiny little white flowers, and it gives the scent of jasmine. Can you see me? It smells like jasmine. So if you're using this in your bouquet work or wedding work, it's amazing because when they shoot their little flowers, oh, they're just so yummy. They just smell amazing. Absolutely amazing. And it's always a nice little treat for our brides too, because when they're holding their bouquets and they get that smell coming their way, well, who wouldn't love that, right? Who wouldn't love that? Okay, all right. So I'm just going to swing it around just so you can see that through the back here, I'm starting to fill up the back. This centerpiece can be laid up against a wall, or you can make it where it's going to be visible from every angle. But in this tutorial, I'm just going to sort of work with it facing forward. So imagine this is sitting up against a wall somewhere or a mantle, wherever it may be. But you always want to make sure that you're filling your sides and some of the back, because if you're sort of coming from a side angle, you don't want to see that flower foam. Again, you really need to cover all your mechanics. All right, moving on. I'm going to use a little bit more of this actually because we want to still cover some of this foam, and to do so, just going to cut some of that up and just fill that in, especially through the backs, where we're needing a little bit more coverage. Because it's quite high, you really need to get in there and get that mechanic covered. But that is looking so amazing. So pretty. All right, I'm going to use some of this too. And this is a nice little touch because it's still in green. It's still got greenery, but it's got more silver than anything else. And so it's nice to sort of mix your foliage. It's nice to mix your foliage. So it's not just one tone of green. And creating from the back to the front. Stick that last Lizzie in. Well, I think I might have to start standing on the side. I don't think you're going to see me in a minute. Now, I think I want to start using the roses. Start working with them. Start placing them in. Now, there's a trick with roses if you don't already know. So, because I'm going to start high, you can either reflex them or you can gently spin them and they start to open. I do like roses to open on their own, but when you're doing wedding work, you know, the centerpieces and all those sort of things that you're adding in for your weddings, you need to see them in their best. They need to be performing their best. So that's when we will really reflex them, because nobody wants a closed rose. You can't beat a rose that's open. So just to show you the difference with a closed rose or a reflexed rose. Sorry, I'm trying to do this very carefully. But you really just want to gently reflex your rose open, because it just, it's stunning. Like, have a look at that. Have a look at that compared to that. Like, that's beautiful, but that's special. So we want to start adding these in now. Again, turning my piece around. Turning my piece back so you can see as I reflex another couple more. And they are so delicate, so you've just got to be patient. You just got to be patient. For the most of it, roses are pretty hardy. Especially if you're getting really good quality, like that's the key. Good quality flowers is so important. You never want to sort of use, you don't want to use low grade quality flowers. You just see the difference in them. Especially when it comes to event work, brides, like you want to be giving your clients the best that's out there because it is a reflection of you as well. Like have a look at that. Isn't that just beautiful? And gosh, oh, we always say, I wish you could smell through the camera. I really wish you could because these are just so beautiful. They're just stunning. Now I'm going to group these. These are going to be grouped in 3. 3 is always a really good number when you're doing centerpieces or anything on a large scale, even a small scale. You never want even numbers. Even numbers in arrangements look too, they don't look natural. You don't want everything to look really placed. You want it to look as if it's just really like what you would see in nature. So again, let nature teach you how it works. And so grouping them in odd numbers just looks so much more natural and organic. And that's what you want. You want your arrangements to be dramatic, but you want them to look really natural in their own way. Okay, so I'm going to place this one back in, moving it along, facing forward more to the front. That's looking quite cute. All right, when you get a rose and the outer layers are starting to brown, always, always, always take those petals off. Never leave any petals that are wilting or looking yucky or brown, or take them off. Always take them off. You want to make sure that your flowers are showcasing their best beauty. And again, grouping them just that little bit lower now. And I'm trying to sort of use some of my roses that are already starting to open up. That way, I'm just only reflexing them a little, not a lot. So I'm letting them do their own thing, but I'm just giving them a little helping hand. And so when you do so, it just helps them along. Okay. I'm placing this one now down low. And I think maybe one more just in there. Okay, placing this last one. I'm really clustering them. Again, like I said, mimicking nature, letting Lisianthum come through. But have a look at that, guys. It's really starting to take a shape. So we're getting movement, we're getting flow, we're getting some of that whimsical feel to it with our vine just resting slightly there on the table. We've got greenery, we've got our pops of color. So now I'm actually going to bring this guy in. This is almost semi-dried. Just trimming off the bottoms. Now this one here is called Thryptomene, and this is found in nature and it's usually green, but this has been dyed. So I know some florists don't really like using flowers that have been dyed, but if you really want to work with colors like this, unfortunately, you gotta. So I'm actually going to start placing this guy through the back because I want him to sort of stand out but I don't want him to stand out face forward. So I'm going to tuck him away more through the back lines, and then I will gently bring him through to the front. But using him strategically, because it's such a bold color, I don't want it to fully take over all that I'm doing. And I'm just going to stick this one in the back, and then I will swing it round just so I can show you. So see how this is starting to throw its color from the back, and it's actually allowing everything else to sort of stand out more. Don't throw away your little pieces, because you can use those for lots of other different things. Okay. It's such a beautiful color. It's like a magenta. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Look, I love it. I know not everybody does, but I love it. The color's so striking. And again, placing it through the backs, just so I can get that color in there, because this is also, I'm actually using this also as a filler. So this one I'm actually placing now, I'm actually putting this one a little bit more front forward, just so we can get, oh, that one needs to come up a bit. And now I'm going to work from the front. Sorry guys, I will spin it around. I will spin this around, but I just need to work from the front for this moment. And I'm cutting them quite short, just so I can fill in, because this is really going to add the drama that I'm wanting in this piece. So I'm creating drama through the front, obviously still keeping the height from the back. And I'll just put that last one in. And how are we going? Stand back, have a look at your work. Okay, that's looking pretty good to me. Now, the next one I want to use is actually this one here. So again, I'm going to take advantage of the height, because these have still got some pretty, they've got some decent length on them. So I'm going to use them where we can really see them. And so placing them face forward, because this is going to give our texture to our arrangement. And again, cluster them. They look so great when you cluster them, as opposed to just sort of scattering them throughout your arrangement, which you can do. And these are really amazing in bridal work too, mind you. They, can you just see that? Like, yeah. So this guy needs to sort of come out from there. So if you have a look, you can see, although I'm sort of popping them sort of here and there, they are still in the same sort of area. I'm not putting one here, one there, one there, one there. I'm still trying to group them. And sometimes what's good to do is, because they're quite small, if you need that little bit more, coverage, put two together, because when you do that, like I'm going to throw it on this side. Sorry guys, you can't see me. But in doing that now, I've just popped one through this side, and it's just given me a little bit more feel. This arrangement is so tall. I probably should be on a stepladder. Okay, now I'm going to move some of these out the way. Okay, all right. We're starting to get somewhere. Like, that's looking so amazing. But I think what I want to do now is I want to place in the ethereum. This is such a showstopper of a flower. Like, these have become so popular. Was once upon a time, people didn't want stuff like this. Now this has become so popular, especially in bridal work and bouquets. Especially if you're using like doing a cascade bouquet. This would just be a showpiece that would sit upright, although the rest of the arrangement would cascade down. But they've just made such a comeback. Like, people are loving them again. And I must admit, they are such a stunning flower. They're so hardy. So I've just placed them there. And so now they're just sort of standing on their own. But they don't sort of stand on their own and look weird. They're standing on their own and they're complementing each other. And so that's what we want. We want flowers to complement each other. All right, I'm going to use some of my chrysanthemums now. And I've got these in a really bold green. I just think they're so cool. They're just damn cool. And I love them. I love this particular one because look how many heads you're getting on there. Again, these are amazing because they can fill a whole area of your arrangement as opposed to placing one here and one there. They do a good job just to get good coverage. So sorry, I'm going to keep spinning my arrangement because I'm not very good at working backwards. So you'll have to bear with me in these videos because I have a tendency to hog the arrangement. It's a bit like a painter. A painter can't paint backwards. I feel like I need to be working front on. So maybe in a different video, I will change the angles of my videos for that reason. Okay, this would be the last one I'm placing in. And I really think I want to just place it through the bottom. Just again to create that coverage that I'm looking for. And you want your flowers never to be at the same length. You want some tucked closer to the base and you want some sort of spilling out. All right. Look at this Phalaenopsis. Isn't it just divine? Another word for orchid. Now, this guy is going to be the showstopper. So I really want to place him through the front. Give me one moment and I will do that and I shall be back to show you. Okay, snipping off the bottom again. And now I really want him to be front forward because he is going to really, I want him to shine. Or should I call her? I want her to shine. She's got to be really delicate with these. You don't want to be breaking them. They are such an expensive flower. You don't want them broken at all. So can we see that, guys? Can we see that? She's pretty much center of the show, which we love that. We love that. Some girls just need to be in full view. In full view, in full view. Okay, I'm just going to stick another Lizzie. And that is looking so sweet. Don't be scared to tweak your flowers, guys. If you need to raise some up, raise them up. If you need to bring some in closer to the base, bring them closer to the base. But I could imagine that on any occasion. Like that, honestly, to me, just sings such elegance. And like you could place that with, neutrals. You could place that with, organic cloth, and that would just change the whole arrangement again. It just depends what you would place this on. You could keep it light, fun and bright, or you could make it more moody. And again, if you were having this as a centerpiece on a table arrangement, it would just come down to what you're using in terms of your linen cloths and your crockery and all that stuff. So that would actually determine the mood you go into as well. Because we're using a lot of multicolors, you could actually tone this really up or you could tone it really down. But it has a sense of, it has an overall elegance to it anyway. So it leaves you free to sort of play. What I'll do is once I finish this, I'll give you 2 examples of how this can be placed using something really organic, cloth-wise, and then using the opposite. So I'll show you that when we're done. but I want to just throw a few more in. I'm going to actually use some of the ranunculus because they're in this tone, but they're darker. Again, it's just going to give a bit more depth to this arrangement. So I'm going to get some ranunculus and I'm going to start just gently place those in. So I'm using these ranunculus, which are in such a really dark, rich wine red. And I love ranunculus because they grow quite wild. They allow you to have that whimsy feel. Like, none of them are straight. None of them are straight. But I love that. I actually purposely like buy them for that reason, because again, it's going to give that real natural feel to the arrangement as opposed to just being stiff and tall. So again, I'm going to place these strategically through the front where I really want those pops of dark red. And don't be scared to use them with the double buds. Again, it just gives a little bit more dimension to your arrangement. And you won't need too many. You really won't need too many. It's all about where you're placing them. That kind of will make the difference. So grouping those three together, again, placing those in strategically, well, it says it all, doesn't it? It's all just sort of, the colors are just all sort of melting into one another, but they're not melting as if they're melting away. They're just complementing each other. I'm actually going to take a bit more off that one. Coming in from the side now. But I think I'm gonna stop it there. Now you could probably add a little bit more foliage to the sides, definitely. But for the moment, I'm just gonna stop it there. But if I was taking this to an event, I would definitely fill those sides up a lot more and possibly throw a little bit more through the back to really cover the mechanics. But overall, I think that looks absolutely stunning. Like, it's tall, it's grand, it's got texture, it's got movement, it's got color, and I love it. Do you love it? I love it. And I think you could use this for any occasion, whatever it might be. If it's in your color scheme, definitely have a go in making your own. And if there's anything you need to know, place it down in the comments. And guys, I hope you come back for more tutorials like this. This is the very first of my designer series, so I'm doing a whole series, and each tutorial will be an addition to the last. So we're just gonna keep getting bigger and better, and it'll get really exciting. I've got some cool stuff on the way. So I hope you liked the video. Follow, tap the bell, and you know what to do. Okay, I hope to see you in the next video. Bye guys.